As the principal funders of humanitarian action, the world's main donor governments have a special role and responsibility to ensure that aid money is used efficiently and for the greatest impact for the millions of people affected by crisis each year. The Humanitarian Response Index assesses the performance of the world's 23 main donor governments on the quality, timeliness, effectiveness, and accountability of their aid programs. Now, in its 5th year, the HRI has found that most donor governments are failing to apply cost-effective measures that would have a greater impact on meeting the needs of vulnerable populations. Most of the crises we covered in the HRI 2011 were chronic crises with predictable needs, underscoring the continued inability of the international community to anticipate, prepare for, and prevent crises, or provide long-term solutions to build capacity and resilience, and minimize the impact of future crises.
In our assessments of the humanitarian situation in Kenya and in Somalia, it's a good example of where donors working with their humanitarian partners could have taken much earlier action to prepare for and respond more effectively and avoid the scale and the impact of the famine in the Horn of Africa today.
The HRI 2011 focuses on gender and concludes that it is still a low priority for donors and actors, despite mounting evidence that good gender analysis in programs is an effective means of ensuring needs of all the populations are being met equitably.
We found out that a number of donors are saying, yes, it's important. Oh yes, sensitivity. There should be equality between men and women. However, no one or very few follow up. So once the proposal has been accepted, the money has been transferred, it's the end of the story for many of the donors.
We see good policy, but we don't necessarily see that translate into action on the ground. That women, for some reason, are not being able to have their voice heard in the decision-making that affects them. And that's where so much more action needs to take place.
Some of the key issues that we found last year around politicization of aid were recurring, were ongoing, and so it's a concern.
For the HRI 2011, we carried out field research in 9 different crises: Chad, Colombia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Haiti, Kenya, the occupied Palestinian territories, Pakistan, Somalia, and Sudan, which together received almost 2/3 of international humanitarian assistance funding in 2010. Field teams visited these crises, collecting 1,350 questionnaires on donor practice, interviewing 300 humanitarian staff and 40 donor representatives in the process. Field research was then complemented with quantitative data on government donor funding and policies. Finally, data was converted into indicators to produce scores, findings, and a new group classification. These patterns of donor scores in the HRI indicators of donor practice places donors into 3 groups. This classification by groups allows donor policymakers and their humanitarian partners the opportunity to compare performance against a smaller set of peers. Group 1, Principled Partners. This group includes Norway, Denmark, Sweden, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Finland. Group 2, Learning Leaders, the European Commission, the United Kingdom, France, Canada, and the United States. Group 3, Ireland, Australia, Germany, Belgium, Spain, Japan, Luxembourg, and Italy make up the group of Aspiring Actors.
I think what the HRI allows, and it's unique, is to give across the board an analysis around similar indicators of where donors stand. And that is why I believe the HRI is a great tool.
Mainstreaming gender, ensuring aid is focused on needs alone, and investing in prevention and preparedness are all cost-effective measures. Putting the focus back where it belongs, on meeting the needs and respecting the capacities and priorities of affected populations, is the best way to maximize donor contributions and impact.